You wake up tomorrow morning, and your job doesn't exist anymore. Not just your job, the concept of employment vanishes. You panic. How will you survive? What will you do with your time? But here's the unsettling truth. For 99.7% of human existence, your ancestors faced the exact opposite problem. They had all the free time in the world, and somehow they were fine. More than fine. They had something we've lost. And once you understand what it was, you'll never look at your daily schedule the same way again. We're told a story about progress. Thousands of years ago, humans worked all day to survive. Hunting, gathering, constant danger, no security, no rest. Then agriculture arrived and supposedly freed us from constant toil. Food stored in barns meant leisure time. Civilizations rose, art, philosophy, science, all enabled by people having time to think. And then industrialization arrived. Factories, schedules, the 40-hour workweek became normal, and we accepted it as inevitable, natural, the price of progress. But this story has a problem. Anthropologists have spent 70 years living alongside the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. They've timed their work, measured their sleep, tracked their days, and what they found doesn't match the textbook at all. In fact, it's almost the opposite. In 1963, an anthropologist named Richard Lee did something radical. He moved to the Kalahari Desert and lived with the Kung San people, one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. His goal: measure exactly how many hours per week they actually worked. He counted everything: hunting expeditions, food gathering, cooking, tool making, camp maintenance, everything. The results shocked the academic world so badly that his paper is still being debated. The Kung worked an average of 15 hours per week. 15. Not 15 per day, 15 per week. For comparison, the global average today is 47 hours per week. Even if you're part-time, you're likely hitting 20 to 30. The Kung were hitting 15, and they weren't living on the edge of survival. They were well-fed, they had body fat, they had time. Anthropologists thought maybe the Kung were an anomaly. So they studied the Hadza of Tanzania, 15 to 20 hours per week. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia, 15 to 20 hours per week. The Aceh of Paraguay, 12 to 15 hours per week. Over and over, across different continents, different environments, different technologies, the pattern held. Hunter-gatherers worked roughly 1/3 of the hours that industrial humans do, and they did it while supporting entire families, caring for children and elders, and maintaining complex social structures. Here's where it gets interesting. The remaining hours weren't spent resting. They were spent on something entirely different than we do today. They spent time together. Anthropologists documented hunter-gatherer days in meticulous detail. Here's what an actual day looked like for the Kung San. Early morning, a hunting party leaves camp. 3 to 4 men, 4 to 6 hours of walking and tracking. While they're gone, the women gather. Roots, berries, nuts. 3 to 4 hours of actual collection time. But here's the thing, they brought their children. They brought their mothers. It was social time, work time, and childcare time all woven together. Afternoon, the hunters return, sometimes with meat, sometimes without. The success rate was lower than you'd think. Then comes the part industrial humans have almost completely forgotten: the communal work. Food preparation is done together. Meat is butchered in a group. Plants are processed in a group. Tools are made in a group. This isn't efficiency. It's slower than if one expert did it alone, but it's social. You're working alongside people you know. You're talking, you're teaching younger people, you're settling disputes, you're reinforcing bonds. Then, as the sun sets, comes the evenings. The entire community gathers around a fire. And here's what they did at night: nothing productive. They told stories. They sang, they gossiped, they argued about who insulted whom, they made music with whatever was at hand, they sat in silence looking at the stars. for 4 to 6 hours, every night. No agenda, no purpose other than being together. There's also something weird about their sleep. Hunter-gatherers didn't sleep in one 8-hour block. They slept multiple times throughout the night, with hours of wakefulness in between. This is called biphasic sleep, a natural human rhythm that existed for hundreds of thousands of years before electricity. First sleep, 3 to 4 hours after dark. Wake, 1 to 2 hours of quiet time. Thinking, meditating, sometimes sexual intimacy, sometimes just lying awake. Second sleep, another 3 to 4 hours. The total sleep was still 7 to 8 hours per night, but it was structured differently. The wakeful period wasn't something to fear or medicate, it was built into the rhythm of life. Modern humans have destroyed this rhythm by bathing ourselves in artificial light, and now we're paying for it with insomnia, anxiety, and sleep disorders. Everything changed when humans stopped hunting and started farming. Agriculture required something that hunting didn't: continuous, regimented work on someone else's schedule. A hunter-gatherer could decide when to go hunt. Slack periods, stay in camp. Hungry, go out. Simple. A farmer couldn't do that. Crops had to be planted when the season arrived, not when you felt like it. They had to be weeded regularly. They had to be harvested when ripe, not when convenient. Agricultural work was inescapable. And because you could store grain in a barn, farmers produced surplus, and surplus meant power. People began controlling food and therefore controlling people. This is when something critical emerged: work that benefited someone else. A hunter-gatherer's work fed their own family, their own tribe. An agricultural laborer's work fed the landowner. For the first time in human history, humans were working more hours than they wanted to on a schedule they didn't choose to enrich someone else. The anthropologist David Graeber called this the birth of bullshit work. Not because farming isn't important, but because the farmers stopped controlling the purpose of their own labor. But agriculture still had seasons, still had rest periods, still had time for community. The Industrial Revolution destroyed even that. Factories ran on schedules set by machines, not seasons. A cotton mill operated 12 to 16 hours per day, 6 days a week. Workers, men, women, children, were locked into that rhythm. And for the first time, a new myth was born, the myth that work is virtue. The Puritan work ethic: hard work equals moral goodness, rest equals laziness. This was propaganda. It was invented to make factory workers accept 16-hour days. By 1920, Henry Ford proved something remarkable. He reduced the work week to 40 hours, 5 8-hour days, and productivity skyrocketed. Workers with rest time were fresher, more focused, made fewer mistakes. The 40-hour week became standard. It was promoted as a victory, but here's what people forget: that was still 2.7 times more work than the hunter-gatherers were doing. Then something strange happened. Starting in the 1970s, the 40-hour week began creeping upward. 45 hours, 48 hours, 50 hours. By the 2000s, the average American was working 47 hours per week officially, often 55 plus actually. Salaried workers, often 55 to 60 plus hours, including emails and meetings outside of office hours. Modern freelancers and entrepreneurs, 60 to 80 hours constantly. And here's the kicker: we were told this was freedom. You can work from anywhere now. You can do what you love. The trap disguised itself as liberation. Let's be clear about what changed. A hunter-gatherer worked 15 hours per week for subsistence. A medieval peasant worked roughly 150 days per year with many religious holidays. A 1920s factory worker worked 48 hours per week. A modern American works 47 hours per week officially, often 55 plus actually. Many modern workers are now approaching 60 plus hours per week when you count emails, phone calls, and think time at home. We work more than at any point in human history except perhaps the worst years of slavery and 19th century industrial exploitation. And we tell ourselves it's normal. But it's not just the hours, it's what disappeared from those hours. 1. Purposeful community time. Work was interwoven with social bonds. Now, work isolates. You're competing with colleagues, not collaborating with tribe. 2. Creative, unstructured time. Humans need time to think, dream, play, experiment. Creativity requires slack. We've eliminated slack entirely. 3. Physical movement tied to purpose. A hunter-gatherer moved 6 to 9 miles per day while gathering. It was exercise embedded in purpose. Modern humans sit 8 hours, then try to work out for 30 minutes to compensate. It's not the same neurologically. 4. Dependence on real relationships. Survival required knowing and trusting your 20 to 50 closest people. Modern work has replaced that with professional networks, transactional relationships, and Slack conversations with people you'll never meet in person. 5. Spiritual and contemplative time. Those 4 to 6 hour evening gatherings at the fire, that was time for philosophy, art, storytelling, spiritual practice. Modern humans are starving for it and filling the void with social media and streaming. 6. Margin, breathing room, the absence of urgency. A hunter-gatherer's day had natural pauses. Modern life has none. You're always on. And our bodies are screaming. Depression has increased 1,000% in the last 80 years. Anxiety disorders are affecting 1 in 5 adults. Sleep disorders, autoimmune disease, chronic inflammation, all skyrocketed since the 1970s. We're not sick because of modern medicine's failures. We're sick because we've designed a lifestyle that contradicts human nature.
So, here's the disturbing parallel. We built a civilization more efficient than nature ever was. We have machines that do the work. We have enough food, enough shelter, enough resources. We could, right now, reduce the work week to 20 hours, maybe 15. We have the technology, we have the productivity, we have the abundance. And yet we don't. Why? Because a population that works 15 hours per week has time to think, time to organize, time to question, time to realize their power. A hunter-gatherer could walk away from an unjust leader. They had no dependence on that leader's approval, resources, or salary. A modern human is locked in. Your health insurance is tied to your job. Your mortgage is tied to your job. Your social status is tied to your job. Your identity is your job. Walk away, and you fall. This is the trap. And it was never inevitable. It was chosen. Here's what's most unsettling. We know this doesn't work. Productivity studies show diminishing returns after 35 to 40 hours per week. Beyond that, you're not producing more. You're just burning out faster. Companies know this. Silicon Valley actually does 4-day work weeks because it works better. But the system demands more hours anyway, not because more hours produce more value, but because control requires visibility. When you work 50 hours a week, your boss sees you, monitors you, controls you. When you work 15 hours and produce the same output, you're harder to justify, harder to manage, harder to extract value from. The system optimizes for control, not for human flourishing. And we're paying for it with our lives. Here's what the Kung San knew, and what we've forgotten. A human being is not a productivity machine. You are a relational creature. You need community. You need time to think. You need purpose that extends beyond a paycheck. The 40-hour work week wasn't a victory. It was a compromise that we've since abandoned. And no one asked us if we wanted to abandon it. It just happened. Wages stagnated, cost of living rose. Suddenly you needed 2 incomes, then 3 side gigs. Then your kids needed to start college at age 8. And now you're so exhausted that you can't imagine anything different. But different is possible. Not because you quit and live in the woods, though some people do, and they're happier for it, but because you remember what humans are actually designed for. And you realize that 15 hours of good, purposeful work alongside people you love is enough. More than enough. It's everything. Here's my question for you in the comments. If you didn't have to work, How many hours per week would you actually choose to spend on meaningful work? And what would you do with the rest of your time? Drop your answer below. I read every comment. And if you've ever felt like modern work culture is broken and you're not alone in that feeling, hit the like button and subscribe. We dive into the hidden systems that shape your life every single week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.